Looking at today.
So this is like I literally played this game earlier today. Um, there wasn't like I wasn't really confused with too much or anything.
Hmm.
Um, it was just kind of like I guess typical kind of gameplay, I
Yep.
guess. And it's like after like a week of coming back, I feel quite comfortable.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that
So a bit
I
of a
don't know.
checkup, Rod, then, like a holistic
Yeah,
checkup,
yeah,
Rod. See where you're at. And what rank is
yeah.
this?
Because so this is D4, D3.
Okay.
Yeah, let me check.
So roughly D4, D3, low diamond. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is the end up going
Um,
Halo Blades, so something to keep in mind. So it's very important when you're versing Azir to identify what keystone they've gotten, because it's very different. I mean, First Strike, Conqueror, Comets, Halo Blades, they're all very different, and they all do different things, right? So what you're looking for here is aggressive keystones and scaling keystones. So Comet and Halo Blades, like more lane, and same as Airy, you even see Airy. These are like the three lane ones, so they're going to be playing
okay.
quite fast and aggressive. And then you've got the Conqueror and First Strike. Conqueror and First Strike, or Conqueror, is an interesting one because Conqueror, although it is for scaling, it can actually be nasty if you stay in combat for too long. First Strike is the weakest of all of them, which means that you can play very aggressive. So just something to keep in mind. It's very significant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think honestly, I kind of regret going Ignite. Ignite's kind
Yeah.
of like my go-to,
Yeah.
but I definitely think I didn't respect the fact that Azir is just so safe, and
Yeah.
I just really
I think it's
struggle in
very
that early
greedy. I mean,
phase.
Azir's a
Yeah.
hardcore lane bully. I mean, going Ignite into a hardcore lane bully, it's not, yeah, in my opinion, not very smart. I mean, the good thing, I guess, is that you do have a Shaco, right? Which might give you an opportunity to potentially use it. But if Shaco doesn't get a gank off, then you're going to be stuck.
So yeah, I mean, like at one point, like I just got salty at the Shaker. I'm not gonna lie, like I was tilted because I die like a complete idiot.
Hmm.
I fail like a dive,
Hmm.
and then the thing is like he was like 40% HP this whole time. And I was just like just mad at the Shaker, like just coping, like bro, just
Right,
gank me
yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Also, because like he seemed like a nice guy in Champ Select.
Wait, that made you want to flame him more.
Yeah,
Why is that?
no, I mean just, like everyone was like kind of chilling in Champ Select, and then we get in game, he completely ignores my lane. I'm just sad. Because I feel like Azir is safe, but I genuinely think like with Shaco Sylas, we can like do some
Yeah.
crazy things early.
Okay.
It's whatever though. Like I
Let's
wasn't
take a
too
look.
pressed about it.
What I was going to say
I was
here is that I feel like there was a window to trade here aggressively. Rather than using your E on the creep here, I think it would have been actually good to kind of walk up, hold E, miss that one minion, and then actually conserve E and then use it for an aggressive trade there.
Yeah,
Because remember, your biggest advantage here is your D shield. So you do actually want to trade a little bit aggressively and trade resources. Um, but okay, we get shoved in. Pretty stock standard. Shaker is on top side here.
I feel like I have less success with D Shield and D Ring. I don't know why. I think it might have to do with the fact that maybe I'm not trading properly with it, and also in my setup, I go futures market, which instead of the biscuits, which I really like. I really like that. But the problem I realized is that is kind of underrated is that Doran's Ring actually gives you mana regen. With this
Yeah.
setup, I have none. So it's
Right.
actually like quite tough. So I think like when I go D shield, I have to take biscuits.
Right.
That's what I've noticed at least.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So this is where ideally TP would come in handy right now, because if you had TP, what I would do is I would probably just trade. I mean, I'd just blow up this wave here and it'd insta reset TP
And then
back.
TP back, yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I think even here without TP, I think I would still do the exact same thing straight up. I think right
Okay.
now I would actually just queue this, finish it off, reset on the cannon, and just go back, because you're sitting on low resources right now. You know, it's not looking good. Like, you don't want to elongate this lane phase. I mean, it's not going to benefit you without TP.
Right. I think it's. I thought the shake like I only held it there because the Shaco was posturing for a gank, but then I think it was warded, so you called it off, and at that point I don't really want to back because then I would definitely lose a decent amount.
I don't.
That was my thought
Yeah, I see
process.
what you mean. Yeah, the thing is though with this entire lane, I don't even agree. Like I don't even agree with pulling it in the first place, even if Shaco was coming, because it feels like you can't kill anyway. Like I don't think it would just be a chunk, and then what is the chunk really gonna do? So I think if it were me personally, I would have reset regardless. Because when you're taking Ignite or taking
right.
a combat spell, you're going to be hyper obsessed about resets. That's like all I think about, really.
Okay, that's something that I should work on for sure.
Okay, always trapped in lane. We can't even trade aggressively because we don't have the mana to do so. And I'm assuming, yep, you got 3 points Q. Lovely. And then we'll probably trade our HP for this wave here and just reset. Next wave after, I believe, is a cannon.
I think that's actually on the cannon wave that I do it.
Yep. But why do we not base here? Are you trying to greed for 1300? Was that the reason?
I don't know. I generally don't know.
Okay. It looks like it must have been, yeah. Because you had the perfect reset angle here. But then, and it looks like you were going to reset, and then you're like, oh, but I'm so close to... Then it looks like, oh, I'm so close to 1300. And then you're going to end up getting that. But now Azir can freeze, and now you're in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
So that was just this is just not worth it. I don't mind doing that again if you had TP, because you could probably walk back and unfreeze it. But yeah, you're in a really not optimal position now. Okay. Azir freezes, denies you a bunch of creeps. You got to be very careful here. Azir has got the wave on his side. He can easily RU under tower.
Yeah, this is definitely like a laning phase that I really struggle with. I think it's just in general against Azir, I really don't like playing into this champ.
Yeah. But right now, we've just dug ourselves a hole by not taking that reset and not taking TP. Like, you've played the lane on hard mode, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the lack of TP and biscuits just... I mean, I hate biscuits, but I definitely think it actually completely changed the outcome of the lane.
Okay, wave is slowly coming out. And what's all this?
I literally just type, I don't know, because I literally don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, that's how, like, screwed I feel.
Well, you're just scaling, right? That's what you're doing. You're just going to scale. You got to scale and then play for 2v2s later on. You scale completely fine this game.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And like, I feel like there's some decent ultimates for me as well. Like, I was quite happy. Like, in the champ select, I was quite, like, like, looking at the ults. They're okay.
Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So, Azir ends up going missing here. We don't know if he's tempo resetting or roaming top. Given that Shyvana is stacking a wave, you can maybe make the assumption that Azir is potentially going top.
Yeah, I only pinged once, so it was my bad.
Well,
like, I should have, like, danger pinged top lane.
Well, it was way too late regardless, right? I mean, your ping was literally, what, like 10 seconds, 15 seconds after the Azir had been missing. But it was a good play.
I didn't look at my lanes. Yeah, I didn't look at my lanes, and I definitely should have, because I didn't see that she was stacking a wave top.
This is a meme. You said I pinged.
Yeah.
That's actually ridiculous, huh? Come on, that's...
Yeah, no, it was super disingenuous.
Like that is the definition of copium right there. That's literally copium. Yeah, okay. So, like, you gotta accept you fucked up. Azir outplayed you. He went for like definitely. A really good roam. You didn't ping. So, all right.
Now, I came out of this game thinking like I was, definitely wasn't. There was a lot of copium going on. Yeah. It was not a good game for me.
No, I think this is a very good game for you because I think it shows what your shows your weaknesses. I think it's an extremely good game.
Oh, I just meant in terms of my mental.
Right. But this is so interesting to me because everything that we've seen so far is like you just getting. It's like these are not mistakes. This is like your level of play. Like this, like just very obvious.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is what I like about this one. All right.
Yeah. This is definitely like typical like gameplay. Like
This is your limit. This is you playing to your limit,
Mhm.
and it actually shows how what your weaknesses are massively. All right, so he come back with a little bit of tempo. We decided to hover bot side, which is great. We take the Nautilus Assault, that's fine. Anyway, we could use that. This is very good. Huge.
Like that escape was crazy from his.
Yeah, so in order to block this, you have to get in front of the E, but you can't. So he just escaped.
There's a wall.
Yeah, he just escaped. So if you could flash in front, then sure. But if you can't, like, there's no way you're going to get in front here. You just got to give. That's fine. Even if you got the chunk here and you blow the flash, that's amazing. Great. Now you guys could just dive bot or something after that with the prio. All right, Shaker ends up chasing him and killing him regardless. Well done. You get a plate. Beautiful. Shove, shove, shove. Huge. Well done. Okay. Game stabilized a little bit here. We've now got Everfrost, which is going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. Very, very good. So we know top is, I think, struggling a little bit. Bot lane, I think, is doing okay. Shaco's doing very well. Very nice. And this is where you can really start to take some excellent trades, right? Because we've got Everfrost, we've got our level 9.
Yeah, the game definitely starts to feel a lot better.
Yeah, this is your key spike. You have a cheaper mythic over the Azir, so you're able to get to the mythic first. Could we end up taking a pretty bad trade by getting ulted onto tower. Kane goes there. Okay. I would honestly be looking bot side here. I think I'd be, or maybe you could even ping for a dive mid potentially.
Yeah, that's when I got tilted. Because
right now, were you aware of Kane on the red at all here?
I can't remember. I'm gonna assume not. I think at that point I am. I see like him on the minimap.
Because I think you could have definitely collapsed on that Kane way earlier there. Okay. We get collapsed on by the Kane. Nearly end up killing him. Azir comes by. Jace comes by. Nice. Seiko kills Kane. Really good. This is huge. This is great. The way the game is going. So interesting to me because it's a combination. Because I think from what I can see here, you don't understand your role. Maybe not. You look very flustered. Like you look extremely flustered, and you're trying to make. You're not comfortable just being in this like winning position. Like for example, like when we look at the game state right now, it's still fine. Bot's pretty even. Shaco's doing okay, actually really really good, and Jace is doing. I mean, look, he's gonna scale well. But Shyvana's going to be quite annoying, at least for the immediate future. The game's still okay. Right? And Sylas is one of those champions where you really got to understand what your role is in the game. And you got to know what you're trying to do and how you perceive you're going to win. So there's many things you could do. You could play to complement your Shaco. You could play to just chill and be in an opportunistic situation where you're just ready to adapt to whatever happens. You can be really obsessed with killing mid and try and ping for dives and you feel as though you guys got to shut down mid to win. Or there's many things that you could be doing right now. But at the end of the day, you're in a completely favorable position. Shaco just killed the Kane. Bot Bot lane still, like I said, doing okay. Dragon's going to be coming up relatively soon. You're getting pressure into an Azir, which is unbelievably amazing. There's no need to make this play.
Okay.
And it looks to me to just rush
I
it.
don't
We're just
why.
making it because we're rushed.
I'm trying to think of like the reasoning behind that because there definitely is one, and I think it might have something to do with just the fact that I'm like used to having like easier, well, not easier lanes, but lanes with more opportunities in the early game, and like Azir is just so safe, and I just struggle, I guess, maybe with that. That might be it. That's at least something that comes to mind.
Okay.
But I think I like as the game progresses, I kind of I understand my role more. Like you were saying, like I do understand it later on. Just right now, I'm still struggling.
Okay. So as a result of this entire thing, we're not able to adapt to that bot play. Turns into a bit of a 4v4. Your team end up dying. And now the game is really difficult. The game is very difficult. Okay. They get Dragon, but Jace ends up trading it for topside. That's fine. Okay. This could work, maybe. I guess if Blitz can land a hook on anyone here, it should be a free kill. There it is. Onto the Draven. He has no flash. Okay. Ends up being a pretty nice skirmish here. Well done. Okay. So fast forward a little bit here. We end up going for Voidstuff's second item. Is that because they're starting to stack it? What did you see here? Oh, it's because Shaco
I saw
went...
Kane and Shyvana had some magic resist. So I wanted to just get... No, I actually went Blooded Jewel into Rabadon's into Void Staff.
Right.
I've been actually like liking the early Rabadon quite a lot on Sylas.
So, out of interest at this stage of the game, what was your what was your mindset? Like, was it just kind of skirmish around the Shaco?
Yeah, I definitely think like Shaco is super strong, and like so we should these skirmishes. Like I feel like our team these skirmishes in the jungle are actually like quite favorable for us. So I mean, maybe I was wrong, but I mean, I think it turns out pretty well.
Well, the great thing about your comp is that it's very good at making picks. You've got Blitzcrank, you've got Shaco, and you've got really good pick as well. And they're quite immobile. The other thing as well is that Azir doesn't adapt well to these chaotic skirmishes because he needs to get his soldiers set up and he can't move to play as well. So
yeah,
that's the other benefit as well. So they're the two strengths of your composition here. So I think as long as I think you want to avoid straight front to back, in my opinion, at all costs. I think you lose straight front to back, but you win pick and you win fast fight. So if you can get to an area first and play off a Blitzcrank hook or something, you guys are in a good spot. This doesn't look good though because Shaco's really far away. So we've got to disengage. Yeah, this was a very dodgy fight because if we take a look at it, the pick never really happened, right? I mean, we went straight onto the Nautilus and then just get one shot. You guys did a really good job of kiting it out though, and Blitzcrank did kind of, I mean, Shaco bought a lot of time with the clone there, which actually allowed you guys to kind of split the fight and kill the Shyvana before the rest of them was able to kind of come in. But it just goes to show, you know, your team in a raw front to back is going to struggle, but if you can make it very messy and all over the place and split, then you guys probably have a better chance. Okay. I don't agree with your... with the... I don't know if I agree with the build here. It's hard to say. I guess there is a more Hex Drinker there and Aegis there, Mercs. Alright. So we'll fast forward a little bit. We'll see how this game pans out from a macro perspective, just to take a look. But I think I already kind of have a good idea where I want you to direct your attention moving forward here. But let's take a look at this one. Yeah, let's
So the problem there that I realized is that like I E'd before the Shyvana ult, and so I didn't have the Shyvana E, so we couldn't blow up the Draven. Plus, I was exhausted, so it wouldn't have changed much.
Yeah, I don't think it would have changed much. I also don't think this is how your comp really wants to fight, because if you actually take a look at it, Shaco just got out of the fight. Like, Shaco just left. Like,
yeah, I should have ulted out.
Yeah, like, just chill, relax. Like, you can't play the fight like this because no one can follow up on you. Like, Shaco had just finished. And again, if there's no bursting one target, you guys are just going to lose the fight. So I think picking around the next objective is really good, though. Play off a Blitzcrank Cook. Nice. This was fine. Peel back. Okay. This one's a bit dodgy. Okay. So, none of this is really that important to me. I think the game is turning into an absolute fiesta now. This is not important to me. And I think you guys, as long as you guys can continue to get to objectives first and play for those picks and play for split fights, you should be fine. This,
That was just a purely just brain dead mistake. Like,
all right.
I still do like a lot of these mistakes like this, but definitely not as much as I used to.
So okay, so I'm going to just say a lot of things, and then we can kind of, based off all the things that I said, we can kind of hone in. First things first, I'm very concerned with how you do seem borderline delusional about, like, what was happening in the early game, and your quote-unquote shifting blame onto the jungler was quite concerning to me. Purely just more from like a mindset perspective, because there were many times where it had nothing to do with the jungler. You just failed to adapt to the reality, but in your mind it felt easier just to blame it on the jungler. And this is something that's very dangerous to do. And this delusion can actually prevent you from getting into the details, because the thing is, if you type that out and you convince yourself that, you know, it was the Shaco's fault, it's going to be a lot harder for you to actually get into the review and identify what is it that contributed, like, how did you contribute to that situation? Because it's harder to then break a narrative that you've already created rather than just to be free flow or just assume that it was your fault. Like, it's better for me if I'm unsure, I just assume that I fucked up. Like, it's easier to do that. I mean, it's harder on the ego, but it's easier from a review perspective, right? So just assume that you messed up in some way, shape, or form, whether by maybe your wave management was wrong, your trades wrong, your resets were wrong, your lane hypothesis, your communication, whatever the hell it might be, assume that you messed up somewhere. That will just make your life so much easier. Okay? The second thing. To me, I think you kind of didn't really understand how to navigate this Sylas versus Azir matchup, and we saw that obviously by you taking the Ignite. We also saw it with some sloppy resets, which led to Azir being able to freeze the wave on his side, and then it ended up being quite a rough lane phase. I think this also led to you not really knowing what your role was in the game. In the early game, yeah, it feels like you didn't really know what you were there to do, and you're kind of stuck on this island and you're farming, and then you didn't feel comfortable farming. It almost felt like every wave you were farming, you felt more and more flustered, even when you got your Everfrost and you started winning trades and you started getting prio, you were still brute forcing things out of, it just looked almost like out of discomfort. You didn't really know what else to do. You didn't feel comfortable scaling into the mid game. And then it looked like almost like at one moment, a light bulb moment happened, and then you kind of switch your mindset. You started just playing for chaos and playing for chaotic team fights and skirmishes with your Shaco. But I don't know why that randomly happened and why it didn't happen earlier, which was interesting to me. So with everything, you know, everything that we saw here today, I don't think your problem is micro. I don't think your problem is necessarily even, like, although I do think, yeah, there are some problems with your fundamentals and things like that. And there's definitely problems with your matchup understanding, which we kind of got into. I think the main problem is actually more how you're thinking in a game. And it's actually, I think it's more failure to identify your role. And I think that if you don't know what your role is, then you're going to get very easily tilted because you're going to automatically assume things. So in this game, what you had to recognize is that the game was actually played around this 4-0 AP Shaco. But the Shaco wasn't really spending that much time playing for you. He was playing for himself, getting to these Leandries, counter jungling, getting himself up 2 levels. So then you got a choice to make. You can then either make a call and say, come mid, dive mid. And then 2 things happen. He either says yes, okay, and comes mid and you get a kill, great, thumbs up. Or you make a call, he ignores you, or you don't make a call at all, and you got to simply adapt to what the Shaco was doing because he was your main win condition. And then also, given the strengths of your composition, with the Blitzcrank and the Shaco, etc., and versus the Azir and the Kayn and the Fed Draven, there's no way you guys were going to win front to back 5v5. It was always going to be, or had to be, some form of pick-oriented composition. So your mindset should have always been, okay, I need to play around the Shaco, I need to create man advantage, and we need to somehow make picks. Now, if you had actually adopted this mentality earlier in the game, and be like, all right, I'm stuck in the isolated 1v1, I got to farm, I got to max my Q, I got to get to my Everfrost, beautiful, and now my goal in this situation is take good quality trades, be in what I would call an adaptable mindset, where it's like, okay, I'm going to get prio, take good trades, get good vision, and then adapt to whatever happens around the map. The game would have been easy, because you took excellent trades, you end up burning the Azir ult, you end up then wasting Kayn's time, nearly killing the Kayn as well. Beautiful. You're doing such a great job here. All we got to do, and then because, by the way, you actually created space, the Shaco was able to invade. Shaco ends up killing the Kayn. Right now, if we actually just shove this, reset, tier 2 boots, come back with tempo over the Azir, get good vision, who knows? Maybe you guys would have been able to contest that bot side play. Or, even better, what would have happened is that we might have been able to call that off ages in advance and then just trade sides of the map, give the dragon the dive topside. Who knows? You see where I'm coming from?
I definitely do. This is, yeah, very very eye opening because I mean it makes a lot of sense to me.
So for you, I don't think it's your ability. It's nothing in your ability. Like it's not in your. It's like you know how to fight with Sylas. Your fighting's good. You know your limits quite well. You even know how to fight. Like when if I were to tell you what your role was, you would even know what to do. It's like, oh, I just got to complement my Shaco, I got to hover the Shaco, I got to hover my team. Like you actually know what to do intuitively when you know what your role is. That's also why I think you know, and you're having a lot of success with Sylas in the games where you know exactly how to navigate that particular matchup or you know how to play that particular 2v2. Like, you know how to... It seems to me, you know how to win a game with Sylas in a very particular way. It's like okay.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Yeah, and
that's
it's like...
exactly it. There's so many games where I play, like, against a set mid.
Yep.
Or, like, some random crowd that have no clue, like, a Kog'Maw, and I feel completely lost. And then I play against like a Yone or a Lux, and it's literally free low.
Where
like
you know exactly what to do, but that's not because. But that's all because you know your role and you know what you want to be doing and why.
Yeah.
So I think that like my biggest takeaway, and this is going to be an in-game and out-of-game learning objective, right? In-game, right? What I want you to do is you always got to adapt and have a hypothesis throughout the game. And update that hypothesis throughout the game. You might have initially thought as you're loading in the loading screen, okay, I want to pull waves on my side and I want Shaco to gank for me. Alright? But then you might realize, oh fuck, the Shaco is actually playing to sides. Or the Shaco is playing for himself. Or the Shaco is not a gank oriented Shaco, right? So you adapt through each and every lull state based off the way, like, how do you see the game panning out right now, right? So there's decisions that happen and the game pans out a certain way. You got to adapt your hypothesis in the game as it goes on. This completely influences your role and what you believe the win con to be. So you got to say to yourself, well, okay, well, if I'm not getting, if what I want to isn't happening, then what's next? Then what is my role in this game then? Do I just have to farm this isolated 1v1 and get to my Everfrost? Or do I need to complement a Fed 80 carry? Or what do I need to do? But this is done in the LoL stage. You've got to identify what your role is. Now, if it feels bad, obviously you might make calls like, Shaco, come dive mid. But if the Shaco doesn't dive mid, then rather than you having hissy fit and saying shit jungler, blah, 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 you're not coming mid, blah, 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 and just raging. Just like, okay, you adapt. So, okay, Shaco doesn't want to do that. That's okay. What's next then? What do I need to do next? You got to be okay with a play. You think a play could happen, but if that play doesn't happen, then you got to adapt. That's why your role is always in flux. Your role in a game, especially when you're playing champions like Sylas, you got to be very adaptable. You're not a rigid champion. You're not a Vel'Koz that can only really do one thing. You can dive, you can peel, you can pick, you can do many things with Sylas. You can side lane. Does this make sense?
No, this makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I definitely struggle with the adapting in game part, especially when like I have this idea of like what I want to happen and what should, like, in my brain, like, yeah, this is super logical. Like even in a game like this, where let's say I have the Shaco, and he starts red, I take E level 1, he ganks level 2, and we just either burn a flash or something. Like that's. But the thing is, when it doesn't happen,
what do you do?
It weighs. It's in my mind, and I think about it.
It's like that. I always use that quote. It's like that Mike Tyson quote. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? That's why League is it's such a brutal game, because you're getting punched in the face 24/7 because things aren't going your way a lot of the time. That's why you got to be adaptable. That's why me and Nathan talk about Bruce Lee and being free flow, bring like water. The other thing I would say is that there's an out of game component. The out-of-game component of this learning objective is that, what you got to do, man, is that you got to, these moments where you felt lost in a game, all right? Or you felt confused, or you felt like really frustrated, or whatever it might be, rather than just looking at it and being like, following your default response, which is whatever, jungler didn't come mid, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you say to yourself in the post-game review, well, how should I have been thinking? What should have my role been in the game? Because sometimes you'll have your hypothesis in the game of what your role should have been, and that was maybe like it's not going to be perfect, right? Like you might realize that, oh shit, my role, or I was thinking the wrong way. So you got to go to these moments, and these are your signs. Think about these as like the red flags. There's like these like red flags that happen at moments into the game. These are like the red flags that you need to then address. And then be like, okay, was I thinking the right way? Was I clear on my role in this game? Did these calls that we made, or these fights that we made, make sense with the win con and my role in this game? That's how I want you to be thinking. Because I have utmost faith in your ability to climb and win games if you know your role. Okay?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's what I want you to. That's the way I want you to be thinking, and then build from that. And then what we can start to do, and then once you try this, you might realize, oh shit, I'm actually not good at identifying my role, or I'm confused in these particular games, or I don't know how to play Sylas in these games. And that's where you start. You got to start to use the VOD's question channel. Like, how should I be thinking in this game as Sylas? What should I be doing? Should I be peeling, or should I be? You're gonna get out of your comfort zone.
Right. Yeah, I think especially like in the out of game and the review stuff, like when I look at the game and I see these mistakes that like for example, let's say I had an assumption about a certain game state that should have happened, it doesn't doesn't go my way or whatever, and I actually think I am quite good at realizing so I was wrong, like I didn't see that my jungler like invaded and got 3 camps, like. I do realize it, but in the game, I do get
Right.
like
It's more in the game.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, out of the game, I've realized like I feel like at least I'm quite self-critical.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I just it's hard. I just find it hard in game
Yeah,
to realize to
it
adapt.
is. It is. It all, and like I said, it all comes down from that. Like it all. I mean, it's in those lull states. And the last thing I will say is that it's a mindset. It's like I think you're struggling to adapt because you're in your own way. And what I mean by that is like, in order to adapt and be free flow, you can't have any judgments about things. Like it's okay. For example, let's say okay, so let's say you say we talk about that Shaco, right? Let's say Shaco starts like you had a plan and you wanted Shaco to level 2 gank mid or something, right? So you leveled up your E and being ready for it, and like Shaco doesn't, unless Shaco ganks somewhere else or he just does a full clear or whatever he might be. You might be so angry, like if that makes you really angry, right? Say you then be like in your mind, well, fuck that Shaco, why would he do that? It's such a big missed opportunity, blah 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 blah, right? You go on about it in your mind. It's very difficult to adapt and make the next best choice when you're constantly judging and angry about what the Shaco did before. Like it's so hard to adapt because your mind's not in the right place. You're not in a free flow mindset. You're just living in the past. And I feel as though what happened this game is that you were so concerned about the mistakes of the Shaco and so angry that the Shaco didn't come mid, or not, no, you weren't really angry. You're just frustrated that the Shaco didn't come mid, such that you weren't able to adapt. And I think that's what's making it hard for you to adapt and be flexible.
I 100%.
It's just the
Like,
emotions getting in the way, dude. You
sure.
can't. It's so hard to be flexible when your emotions are running so high.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say, I always say in my games, if something doesn't go right, I just automatically assume that either I didn't communicate it well, or I did something wrong, or there's something I don't know about that champion and he probably wants to get something else done, and that's okay. I can't mind control everyone. That's just League. Welcome to League of Legends.
Yeah.
So that's like my advice. And I think that's easier said than done, right? It's obviously hard, but you got to start somewhere, right? So
Yeah,
reflect on
I
that.
think if I had to like guesstimate that it might come from a place of I'm climbing higher and higher where I just have like higher expectations and stuff.
Right. Oh,
I think that
yeah,
also might be a thing.
yeah. That's something.
I,
That's a trap. Don't fall in that trap, man. Like,
yeah,
oh, the,
I am coming to terms with it though,
yeah,
100%.
that's a
That
tough
like
one. I know a lot of people fall in that trap though, because especially with people that are climbing to master tier for the first time, people automatically assume that like when you get to D2 and D1 and master, you're like, oh my god, is that a master player? And like you automatically assume that to be a master player, you have to be like this really smart player. No, you can get to master player being dumb as fuck, but you're good at other things.
right.
Remember, there's many ways to be a master player. Like, you can over-index in many things. You can be like Zoom here. He knows nothing about the game, just pure delusion or mechanics max. Or sorry, Zoom. I'm just using you as an example. Or you can be like Milk Puddle, like Reddit analyst, pure macro, doesn't really know much about micro, can't even hit abilities, but is really, just thinks about
Oh
the game
no.
holistically. So,
Yeah.
it depends. You don't know what you're going to be. You're going to be with a Milk Puddle on your team, or you're going to be with a Zoom on your team.
Yeah.
No, I'm just over exaggerating. They're not like that. I just gotta see if they're awake. So yeah, there's many ways to go. That's why understanding your league journey. So don't. It's a double-edged sword. You got to have expectations in a way that you're versing decent quality opponents, but you can't let it.
Yeah, I kind of like
Yeah,
boil down because
yeah.
a lot of the games, especially like it's funny like in games where I'm slightly lower intensity and I just don't really like care as much. I do think I adapt a lot more, but then again, my level of play isn't as good.
Right.
So I think I need to like balance that out.
Yeah,
I don't
you got to
know.
find, and
I
this
don't
is
know if it's,
developing
yeah,
your own toolkit, man. You got to develop your own toolkit.
definitely.